If you've ever counted down the seconds until you could take one of these off, this video is for you. But seriously, this year I'm letting go of more than just uncomfortable bras. I am letting go of expectations, perfections, and a whole bunch of things that don't make life any better. And this isn't a new year, new me list. This is a real life list. And I think some of these things might be things that you're tired of carrying too. So let's talk about what we are all allowed to stop carrying. So let's of course start with this little torture device. By 10 a.m. it is digging in, and by 3 p.m. you're adjusting it in the bathroom stall, and by dinner you're just done. You're just done. And I had one where the wire was actually like coming out, like it broke through. It broke through. This is metal we're talking about. And it would be poking me. And I was walking around being stabbed by my own underwear like some kind of medieval punishment. And I was like that old saying where they're like, beauty is pain, except nobody told me that the pain was supposed to be more metaphorical or more just like, you know, waxing your eyebrows or something, not literal puncture wounds. And then I was like, I could buy bras that are comfortable, right? And I went to the store and I was like, can I have bras without an underwire? And they were like, sure, there's all of these. And they weren't even outrageously expensive, which is, I know, revolutionary. I mean, I still take those suckers off through my sleeve as soon as I get home, but they are much more comfortable than the old ones with the wires. Comfort, it's not laziness, it is wisdom. And you're allowed to choose what feels good on your body. And that brings me to something I hate even more. I just put these darn things on just to be like, what is this? You know, no. Don't like these beautiful instruments of torture. My feet hurt, like they squeeze, like all the bones in my feet are like, ow, why are you doing this to me? And honestly, it doesn't even make me feel any confident. I feel like I'm about to fall over. I'm still super short, even with these on. And it just is just a bad look. And I don't look powerful. I look like a baby giraffe learning to walk. Very graceful, very inspiring. And I'm done hurting myself to look like these standards that are in magazines, if anybody reads those anymore. I guess we'd say Instagram. And I actually don't. Maybe it does make you look like slightly more put together, but who the heck cares, right? And if God wanted me to be taller, he wouldn't have made me this height. I'm not going to argue with the manufacturer. You don't owe the world pain to look acceptable. And honestly, does anybody really care what we look like? Nobody cares what I look like. They care what they look like. And for me, I'm much more comfortable in runners or Birkenstocks, or, you know, if it's some kind of fancy event, some kind of dressed up flat sandal. Absolutely. And letting go of physical discomfort is just the start, because once I started questioning that, I started questioning everything else that I was carrying too. So the first is expectations. And that would be expectations that I have of other people, specifically the expectations that I never even told them about, like quietly hoping somebody notices I needed help, or waiting for them to remember something that I mentioned once, or getting frustrated when they don't. And it's like that scene in every romantic comedy when the woman says, if you don't know what you did wrong, then I'm not going to tell you. Except that it's about taking out the trash and not forgetting an anniversary. And even if my husband forgot our anniversary, after 21 years, I don't even think I'd be upset. I'd be like, hey, did you know it was our anniversary? I mean, we both literally forgot the recycling and the garbage 2 weeks in a row. We're forgetful people. But anyway, with kids, I learned this super fast. They will not magically notice that I am overwhelmed. They will notice snacks, and that is it. And in fact, they also are the type of people where they're trying to avoid work. That's just the way kids are, and you're teaching them how to find it. So I used to get annoyed when my family didn't know I needed help with dinner, but I was not asking, and I just expected telepathy to take over. Sure, they were watching TV and I was just slaving away in the kitchen, but how did they know I needed help or wanted help? And when they didn't get it, I would get passive aggressive and they would get confused, and then nobody would win, because unspoken expectations are truly just future disappointments. So if something matters to you, it is so okay to say it. Just go ahead and communicate that. People are not mind readers, and that is not their fault. So here is what I'm going to do instead. And I'm going to be so specific about what I actually need and actually saying it out loud. And there was a book that I was reading recently, and it said like when there is an expectation or an agreement or whatever, like you communicate it and the other person has to be like, yes, like I understand, like blah, blah, blah needs to happen. I mean, if you said like something like, hey, could you help with dinner tonight? Like just communicating, it might actually work, and your husband might be like, okay, I will help with dinner or whatever. I mean, just be clear, kind, and just make sure you say it out loud, because it turns out that works so much better than suffering silently and slamming dishes around. So the next section is obligations that I don't actually want to do. So I don't know if you are anything like me, but I quite often will say yes out of guilt or even just out of like temporary, sure, I would love to do that. But then I end up dreading things all week. I will feel trapped by my own calendar. So your mouth says sure, but your brain is screaming no, like you're in a horror movie. Yeah, that. So for me, this really came to a head this past fall. I work from home. And from the outside, it might look like I have so much flexibility and so much time. Like, oh, you're home all day. How busy can it be? But I do have a lot going on. I have work, I have kid stuff, there's community things. And on top of that, I am not good at communicating what I actually need or even recognizing it a lot of the time. So I just keep saying yes and then carrying it all quietly. And then it hit me. I was so anxious, all of a sudden, like I could not sleep. And my heart was racing all of this time. I even just recently went through this during like the week of Christmas, being like, and having to be like, okay, what can I delete? What can I delete? In that fall, I had to seriously scale everything back. And it was a huge wake up call. Like, this is not sustainable and something has to change. Every decision I had to make about what was going to happen had to go through a filter. So that's when I realized this is just because I can do something doesn't mean I should. And this is actually something back from my nursing days where we would say, oh, well, I mean, I'm not at 100% capacity, so I can take a little bit more on. And unfortunately, what would happen is the employer would say, oh, well, we're going to give you this much more because you're not always at 100% capacity. Meanwhile, you shouldn't always be running at 100% capacity, not to mention that then there are times where things go crazy, the S hits the fan, and then all of a sudden you've got, 150%, like our hospital, which was always at 130% capacity. So just because I'm home doesn't mean I'm not already full. And that reaction, that stress was my body saying like, hey, this is not working. And I would sometimes fall into the somebody has to do it trap. I'd be like, well, somebody has to do it. And yeah, somebody does, but it does not always have to be me. And the thing is, I'm not acting like I'm this person involved in everything, because I'm not. But I feel like sometimes I need to be more involved. But I had to get clear on my actual priorities. So God first, then my family, then everything else. And I love my community, but they cannot be number one as much as I want them to be, especially at this stage of life. So when I put everything else before the people at home, everyone lost, including me, because on top of it all, I had guilt. And I thought saying yes to everything made me a good person, but honestly, I was just showing up exhausted and resentful. Plus, that building anxiety was ready to burst that I mentioned before. So a kind no is better than a resentful yes every single time. And Warren Buffett said that the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. And I am definitely not trying to be Warren Buffett, and I never will, but I'm just trying to not be exhausted. So you're allowed to choose what fits this season of your life. Your energy is not unlimited. Protecting it isn't selfish. Now, another thing I am letting go of is trying to look more together than I really am. So I used to clean my house. Like we're all talking about honesty here. So I used to clean my house before filming YouTube videos. And I mean, not just tidy, like panic clean. So I could look like I had it all figured out, like I was more together than I was. Now, my house there's some stuff around right now, right? I was making simple living videos while shoving stuff into closets 5 minutes before hitting record. And it's not like I am pretending to be minimalist. I'm minimalist light because I have all of these hobbies, blah, blah, blah. But I was acting like my house was always clean. And I realized that I don't want a life that looks good on camera. I want one that feels good when the camera is off. So it's the same with parenting, trying to be the calm mom, the organized mom, when really you're like, guys, I just need 10 minutes alone so I don't cry. That is real life. And I'm also done with not saying what I'm really thinking. I mean, not all the time, obviously, but not asking questions when I'm confused. I was just at the landfill the other day and they were like, go to this section where there's the windows. And I was thinking, the windows. And then what do? I'm like, okay. And I drive off instead of being like, what do you mean by the windows? Right? Like, just clarify. Or not giving compliments because I don't want to be awkward, or not saying when something hurt. And Brene Brown said that vulnerability is the birthplace of courage. So I am choosing courage even when it is messy. And if I think something nice of you, I am saying it. Life is hard and encouragement is free. And if something hurts, I'm learning to say that too. Kindly, but honestly, because swallowing it just turns into resentment. And I don't want resentment with the people in my life. And showing up honestly is not impressive, but it is real, and real beats impressive every single time. And another thing is that I want to be more of a light in the world. I work from home in comfortable bras, if I'm going to wear one. And when I go out in the world, I want to be a light and not just hold back. Life is short. People need encouragement. I was at Costco before Christmas and this lady had these like lovely, cute little earrings. And I was like, I love your earrings. And then she told me all about like her plans for what to wear. And it was so fun to have that conversation. If I notice something beautiful about someone, why would I keep that to myself? That is just selfish. And how nice is it to just have a connection with somebody? And I'm done being a compliment miser. From now on, I'm giving them out like they're free samples at Costco. And I used to not tell people when my feelings were hurt because I didn't want to be difficult. But all of that just built resentment and made me feel impossible. I was like a feelings hoarder, just collecting hurt feelings and storing them in my very emotional basement, very tidy, but very unhealthy. And you know how in every sitcom there's that character who never speaks up and then they finally explode? I was that character, except it was not funny and there was no laugh track. Kind honesty builds real connection, and the alternative is surface level relationships that don't actually nourish anyone, and it's like emotional fast food. It fills you up, but it does not really feed you. That brings me to perfectionism. Perfectionism, you're a jerk, and we are breaking up for good this time. Never feeling done, always seeing the flaws, waiting to start until everything is perfect. Perfectionism is like that toxic ex that just keeps showing up uninvited. Hey, remember me? I'm here to make you feel terrible about everything you do. I would rewrite emails 5 times, delay things because they weren't ready. Perfectionism, it's basically procrastination is in a fancy outfit. It looks productive, but really it's just fear wearing a business pantsuit. And I was basically holding my own life hostage until it met my impossible standards. My life was like, can I go now? And I was like, not until you're perfect, but that day never comes, does it? So what happens instead? You miss out on life and probably stress your family out too. And of course, stress yourself out. Voltaire once said, perfect is the enemy of good. And it also is the enemy of done, started, and my sanity. So good enough is often the healthiest choice. And if you've been waiting to start something, this is your sign. That brings us to control. I am letting go of trying to control everything, which is pretty hard for somebody like me. Managing others' emotions, trying to control outcomes, planning for every possible scenario. You know what they say, we plan and God laughs, and I think that's so true. I used to try to manage my family's moods. If somebody was upset, I felt responsible for trying to fix it. And I truly am one of those people that is like a feelings kind of like sponge. So of course I'm going to try to fix it. I want to feel better too. But you know what? People are allowed to have feelings, and I am not the feelings police. I'm the karma police. I'm just kidding. That's a 90s joke. I don't believe in karma anyway. Now I ask myself, is this mine to fix? Most of the time it is not. The serenity prayer says, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Turns out that's almost everything. Except for how I show up. So no wonder that prayer is there. Letting go of control is where peace starts. And that is what I'm letting go of. Not because it's a new year, but because I am so tired of carrying things that don't make life any better. From bras to boundaries to perfection, it all comes back to the same question. Why am I still carrying this? You're allowed to stop carrying what does not serve you, and you are allowed to choose comfort over appearance. You're allowed to build a life that feels good, not just one that looks good. Please tell me what you are letting go of this year. If this resonated, please tell me. I would love to cheer you on. Here's to less carrying and more living. I don't have my tea here, and that is sad. I think you would love this video. Please like and subscribe. I hope something great happens for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.